Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. On a Monday, it means it's your time for your Calamity Jane live stream. James, how you doing on this glorious fall evening?
I'm doing just great. I'm drinking my Star Trek cup, so life can't be any better than that.
No, that's right.
So,
It doesn't get much better than that.
so, yeah. How are you? How's
I
everything
am.
going on
I'm
your
doing.
side?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Got some work, which I always love. Working on a new magazine, Animal
hmm
Crossing this time. Staying busy, making the fat stacks, as the kids say. Um,
That's what they say.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, I got it on good authority from Know Your Meme or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I will. I will save the rest of my Urban Dictionary lexicon for later in the stream. How are you doing, though?
Doing okay. Yeah, doing all right. No complaints really. Yeah. Just yeah, just kind of plugging through the day here a little bit for Monday. So, I mean, I guess I can share my screen and start working on stuff, and we
Yeah,
can talk
let's see
about
where we're
whatever.
going. Yeah, I mean, I think the big news in my life is I went and saw the French Dispatch
hmm
and Dune in the last
Yeah.
week,
hmm
and yeah, I mean, I full disclosure, I'm not a huge um, Wes Anderson fan. I've liked a few of his movies, his earlier stuff. Like I liked Bottle Rocket, okay, and I loved Rushmore, and I loved The Royal Tenenbaums, and I really liked The Life Aquatic. But then, starting with the Darjeeling Limited, he just started going in a direction that wasn't really for me, I guess. And then lost interest for quite a long time. Didn't care for Moonrise Kingdom at all. I know a lot of people loved it. I didn't even see the Grand Budapest Hotel. Still haven't, quite frankly.
hmm hmm
But I saw the trailers for the French Dispatch, and I'm like, oh, this actually looks really interesting.
hmm
And so I went, and I'm glad I did. It's great. It was a really great movie.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what made it so you say it's his best one that he's done
To
so
me,
far?
for me, yeah, it's arguably his best movie. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's
so
got
that's
there's a level of maturity and experience, right?
hmm
You watch things like Rushmore, and he's still trying to figure out his voice. He's still trying to figure out how he wants to tell stories, and you see his style emerge as his movies progress.
hmm
Um, and I, as a general rule, I don't care for him when he's really, really mired in his own aesthetic.
hmm
Because he's very into color palettes and symmetry and creating this sort of otherworldliness in his
hmm
films. And the French Dispatch has that, but there's also like some interesting choices. He intercuts with some animation sequences. He um, does. He actually has camera moves as opposed to just trying to paint a picture and do nothing
hmm
else with it.
hmm
Um, it was really good, and the story is really strong. It's an anthology film,
hmm
so there's three stories, and then like a little bit like a smaller vignette that opens it, and it's sort of wrapped around this like fictional travelogue written or edited by a character played by Bill Murray, who dies. And this isn't a spoiler. The movie opens with his obituary,
hmm
um, and and then like the stories of the last issue of the
hmm
magazine,
hmm
and it was great. I mean, the stories were phenomenal. The acting was phenomenal. I mean, because he's Wes Anderson and he's kind of he's really popular in Hollywood. It's easy to get marquee actors. I mean, the cast, it reads like a who's who of Hollywood.
Yeah, he seems to always get really good talent for his
Mm-hmm.
films.
And it's yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And then I saw Dune this last weekend,
hmm
and I really wasn't expecting anything from it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's a hard book to adapt, as David Lynch found out in the '80s, and
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi found out in the early aughts, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but Dennis Villeneuve did a great job. The movie only covers the first third or so of the book. It ends right around the time that Paul Atreides finally meets up with the Fremen,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of like it fades to black as he and them are walking to their one of their settlements. Um, it was really good. I mean, it's beautifully shot. It's really extremely well acted, and the thing that floored me, and I would recommend anybody who's gonna watch this, don't watch it on HBO Max at home unless you have a really epic sound system, right? Like
Uh-huh.
even more so than the visuals, and the visuals are quite striking.
Uh-huh.
Um, but like it was just an as like someone who really loves audio and loves
Yeah.
soundscapes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to see it in like a 12.4 surround sound theater speaker setup was just great. The sound design in that movie, if it doesn't win an Academy Award, like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who
You'd be
cares?
shocked.
I would be shocked, but I mean, who cares really? But I mean, it's just
But
it
it
deserves an
deserves, yeah,
award. Yeah,
it deserves some accolades. Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's funny because you say I pretty much hit the checklist of everything that you said about how to not see Dune.
Uh huh.
Because my wife and I we watched it last night on HBO Max
Uh,
with no fancy sounds, nothing.
oh no,
So I have a
no.
completely different take. Well,
Did
not
you
completely.
did you like watch it on a 13-inch CRT as well, just to
No,
really spoil the whole
no. We
experience?
watched it on our living room TV. It was a 55 inch.
All right. Well, at least the size of the TV's all right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were debating. Like, I actually, because I wanted to go see it. Like, I wasn't sure if they released it in 3D, so I was looking forward to watching 3D. But all that was pretty much around was standard. Was standard. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if this is a thing that's going on with movies right now because of the pandemic. But they only let you see like Dune. Apparently, was only in fancy IMAX, whatever giant format for
Mm-hmm.
that 1 week, and then Marvel's Eternal took it over. Like
Hmm.
for my local theater, for example, like
Hmm.
the XD theater. So apparently, Dune was in XD. I don't know what that
I don't know what
means.
that means. Yeah.
Yeah, but it means like the fancy theater, meaning it's big. It's like goes from the ceiling to the floor.
Right.
With
Sure. Sure.
so whatever format that is. So the format you're probably talking about. There was also 3D versions of it apparently, where you can wear glasses and go see in 3D. All that was gone. All I had was standard definition. So I
Hmm.
was looking and looking, and like, you know what? I don't know if it's worth it to go see this in standard definition because I'm just see it. I can just see it on my TV on standard definition at this point. So that was the rationale there, and also we just wanted to. We were just didn't want to go out and we had food here and stuff, so we kind of just wanted to kind of watch it. The movie's great. I
Yeah.
liked it. The visuals are beautiful. There's some great establishing shots that he does that are terrific. I just got by about 2 hours in, I was bored. I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like let's get this over with. Like I just I was kind of fading a little bit towards the end. Um, and also like and to me it felt labored after the upkeep dream sequence of seeing Zendaya walking around slowly in her little chapels or her thong shoes, and then turning around and over her shoulder and smiling. I got sick of it. I was like, yeah, I saw this shot an hour ago. We know it's
Yeah.
Zendaya. Is
Yeah.
Zendaya going to have any lines in this stupid thing or what? Like she finally does towards the end.
Yeah.
But for me, what my disconnect was over and over dream sequences of this of this guy, this boy, Pat, seeing Zendaya all the time, slowly walking, and always sometimes she has jam on her hands or blood. Sometimes she doesn't, and I just got tired of it. It's like I've seen this. You don't have to keep telling me that. You have to stop banging me over the head with these scenes. I was getting annoyed.
Yeah.
Then he finally meets Zendaya, and I don't even know what her character is because all I see is this mute character that keeps smiling at him. And then Zendaya like says, "Hey, I could have killed you," and he just looks at her like. And at this point, maybe I'm faded, but like like this is the girl who's been occupying your dreams for the past, I don't know, year. It feels like a year for me watching this. So, and that's you don't have any reaction at all to seeing her. You just look at her and then cuts to the next. I just
Mm,
I had some disconnect with the storytelling after a while. Visually, it's beautiful. The details are great.
mm-hmm.
Like like even the tapestry and stuff, beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, I was happy it was over.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a nice little intro to sci-fi again for some people that haven't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that the dream sequences were hit too often. And I
Yeah.
agree that they could have emphasized him seeing her more. I just don't know if Timothy Chalamet is a good enough actor. I mean, he was in the French Dispatch as well, right?
Okay.
And he basically plays the same character in both movies, right?
Oh,
Just this
okay.
young, callow youth who's in over his head, and he's
Hmm.
sort of sad about it,
He's sort of sad about it.
right?
Okay.
um, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know why all of a sudden he's America's it boy, but he's everywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
And same with Zendaya, and
Yeah.
him at least. I don't know. I don't love him, but I don't hate him either. I mean, I don't hate Zendaya. I just don't. She has no talent. She just. I don't
Uh,
know. I just find her to be completely and utterly talentless. Um,
okay. Have you seen any of her shows before, or?
just the Spider-Man stuff.
Oh,
I've only
she
seen
has
her in
some.
Spider-Man and Dune, and I've not liked
In,
her in any of them.
in her defense, she has a show on HBO. I haven't seen it, so I have no. I haven't seen enough of her stuff to have an opinion either way just yet. But yes, from what she didn't have much. Let's put it this way: she didn't have much to work with in Dune
Yeah, I
because
mean,
all
she
she
was
did was
only in
she
it
was
for like the
walking
last
around.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a much. So I don't know. I'm not trying to. Yeah, she could very well be a terrible actress, but she did have some other show on HBO Max. I haven't seen it, so maybe she is good. I don't know, but
Mm.
you got to give her something besides just walking around in the sun. Like it's not really fair to her in that case. Where Timothy Chalamet's character, he has, of course,
I
he's the
mean,
main
like
character.
he's in every
Yeah.
shot.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you found him to be kind of
He,
wooden though, huh? Kind of
he was
cardboardy.
he was fine, and I mean, I think it's
Yeah, I
part
didn't
of
mind
it.
him either.
It's partly the
Yeah.
character. Paul.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's a hero's journey kind of story, right?
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Paul isn't sure that he wants to bear this mantle, and then he's thrust into this role, and then he answers the call eventually, right?
Hmm.
And this is the weird part about um, uh, the movie is that the movie ends when he answers the call, and that's
Hmm.
usually the first act of the movie, right? So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like the movie ended right as the first act was ending, which
Hmm.
is they did that on purpose, obviously,
Hmm.
because they wanted to make it a trilogy, and which I thought was interesting because in all of the marketing it just says Dune. But then
Yeah.
when the movie starts,
It
it
says
goes
Dune
Dune
Part One.
Part One, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that
Yeah.
was ballsy,"
Uh
because
huh.
Warner Brothers hadn't greenlit the second part when it came out in theaters,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
have since greenlit it. But yeah, yeah, I just thought that was
I don't
interesting.
remember much of the original. Well, I don't know what's considered original now at this point, but the one in the '80s with Patrick Stewart in there.
Yeah,
Um,
the David
how
Lynch
many
one.
iterations of how many iterations of Dune have there been now?
Well, there was the David Lynch film in the '80s, and then Sci-Fi did a mini series to varying degrees of success. I think people liked the fact that it stayed truer to the novel than the David Lynch film did.
Hmm.
But because it was a mini series, it was able to. But it's such a like epic kind of grand scope um, story that the overall complaint was that they just didn't have the budget to make it work,
Hmm.
and so it kind of suffered from its own ambitions as a result.
Hmm.
But I think people appreciated the effort, though.
Hmm.
Um, and so, I mean, I've met a few people who really, really love that miniseries.
Hmm.
But I think, generally speaking, it's sort of faded into obscurity. And the only reason the '86 was it '86 the '86 Dune still lives on is just for its awfulness and the fact that it's like David Lynch directed this. Like what? You know.
Huh. And it was.
Um,
I mean, I don't remember it being terrible. I just remember it being kind of whatever. You know.
yeah, I mean, I watched it and I thought it was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
It's very Lynchian though. Like if you don't like David Lynch, I feel like there's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to take in, right?
I wonder how he ended up. Like, I didn't even know it was David Lynch until you told me that tonight. I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
realize he was the director.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I just remember some of the shots and riding the worms and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you say it's very Lynchian.
Yeah, it's very Lynchian. Like if David Lynch did sci-fi, well, I mean, which he did,
Oh,
right? Like
yeah.
it's um, interestingly, so the movie, I don't remember if it was a hit or not. I want to say it was kind of a flop.
Uh-huh.
Um, at least that's my memory of it. And years later, like a direct quote unquote director's cut came out,
Hmm.
and David Lynch has completely um, uh, denounced it. He says that he had nothing to do with the quote unquote director's cut of the
So
movie.
it was just a cash grab
Yeah, it was a
from.
cash grab by Warner Brothers, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting to me that they put the director's cut on the re-edit of the film, and like it was not in fact the director's cut. David Lynch has even said no. The movie I wanted to make is what's in theaters. Like that was the movie I wanted to make. That's the director's cut. The theatrical cut is the director's cut.
That's funny.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, it's. I remember liking Dune, just for it was so it's David Lynch and he doesn't do anything by half measures, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And he really tried to make his interpretation of the blockbuster. Um,
Was he a fan of Dune? And that was and so he tried to.
I don't think so. My recollection is that
Just seems so.
yeah, it's David Lynch. Like he's a weird guy, and I
Yeah.
think someone convinced him that he should make a big budget Hollywood movie,
Hmm.
and he saw the script from Dune, and Dune is a very weird story, right?
Hmm.
And I think that he said, okay, I can do this, right? This is kind of I dig this, and I think that
Hmm.
that's where it all came from ultimately.
Hmm.
But then it ended up being this highly divisive work, right? Like obviously fans of the book are, they hate that movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
then
with how much cred David Lynch has, that's saying a lot. Then I guess.
yeah,
For them
I
to
mean
hate.
it's weird though. It's like I mean, have you ever seen that sketch? I don't remember if it was a Conan sketch or a College Humor sketch where like Wes Anderson's The X-Men.
No, I don't think I
It's
have seen that.
it's a parody video. Like check it out. It's a riot.
Mm.
And it's like it's exactly that, right? Like there are just some directors who are not, you know, cut out to make a particular type of movie, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and if Wes Anderson decided to do a superhero movie, like it would be awkward and weird and
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
missing the point, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like that's just the case. David Lynch's aesthetic, his milieu, his
Yeah.
the paths that he walks in, it's just not really conducive to the summer blockbuster.
Hmm. Hmm.
And anyways, in any case, Dennis Villeneuve obviously has a much better sense of blockbuster, sort of Hollywood tentpole movies, and so he was able to wrangle this, and then obviously he got permission from Warner Brothers to go. I'm going to make a movie about the first third of the book, right? And
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
like, "Okay, do it," right?
And we're not doing anything with it. Why don't you do something with it?
Yeah,
Kind of a thing,
exactly.
right?
So, but I mean,
What's
you're right. What's that?
what's his I don't know anything about this director. Like, what else has he done before this?
The last thing he did before this was Blade Runner 2049, and
Oh.
then before that he was I believe he was a cinematographer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, okay. That's cool. I mean, did you have any opinion on Blade Runner 2049?
I thought it was boring and long.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember watching it and going, okay. Like, I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I left the theater going, could someone explain to me why this movie needed to be made? Like,
Yeah.
like that was the big thing for me. Like, it was just, why? I didn't, it was like, okay, cool, you made this movie. Who is the audience for this?
I guess sci-fi people,
I guess, but it was just like,
the fanboys out there in the world, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. It just, oh, excuse me. Um, yeah, I remember going, hey, okay, this is fine. It was very pretty. Um, and it was just like not a movie that needed to be made, in my opinion. But whatever,
hmm
you know.
hmm
Does any movie really need to be made? I guess
no, I guess I mean that's a
So
more of a philosophical question,
it
I guess.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so he made Blade Runner 2049.
Mm-hmm.
Um, gosh, makes you wonder like how do some of these guys get these gigs? Like man, before that cinematographer, I mean, you guys, he's a good agent or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
Just, I
Um,
mean, right place, right time. A lot.
yeah.
It's.
hmm
Um. Oh yeah. Okay. So he's been. Oh, okay. So he's done a few things.
Oh, okay.
Um. He did. He did Arrival, that Jeremy Renner. Um. 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 Not Rachel McAdams. That other generic white girl. Shoot. What is her name? Amy Adams.
Oh, okay.
Amy Adams,
All
Jeremy
right.
Renner. That was good. I liked Arrival. It was a really interesting sci-fi. He does a lot of sci-fi, and then he also did Sicario, which I've heard is really good. I've
Oh,
never
he did
seen it.
Sicario. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they did a sequel to Sicario too, as far as
Yeah.
why it was made, kind of thing. I think that movie was a sequel to it, but
And
yeah,
I
Sicario.
guess I'm wrong. I guess he didn't start as a cinematographer. He's always just been a director. Looking at
Okay,
IMDb at least. But yeah, I mean, like he did a bunch of smaller things. Sicario was his first real.
that's a
It's
great
what
movie.
put him on the map big time, right?
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, definitely put that in your queue.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he has
Anyway,
a great cast, though. But if I remember right, Benicio del Toro
yeah, yeah,
is the main character. It's
yeah,
really you can't go wrong usually in terms of that.
yeah. No, you're right. He was in that as well. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So two good movies. Enjoyed them a lot. I'm gonna try to sneak in to see Last Night in Soho this week. Edgar Wright's new flick.
Yeah, I want to see it too. We haven't had time to go see it yet. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to. It's on my list now. Again, I don't know whether it's justifiably we're seeing big or not, or
I,
on streaming.
yeah, I just love Edgar Wright,
Yeah,
and
now he did Shaun of the Dead
he did Shaun of the Dead. He did
and
Hot
Hot
Fuzz,
Fuzz.
The
Yeah,
World's End. He did Baby Driver, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
yeah, all those movies are great. All those everything you just listed, all of them were great.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
totally, yeah, they're all good.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then he did before that. He did Spaced, that British TV show, and that's where like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and all them met each other.
Hmm.
Um, and if you haven't seen Spaced, I highly recommend it. It's
It's
really
a
good TV.
it's a comedy TV show type of
It's a
thing, and
sitcom about a bunch of people who live in a flat together and then the antics that they get into.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I'll check it out.
Oh, and speaking of shows about antics, I finished off Dairy Girls.
Oh,
Oh my god, that was so good.
great show, huh?
It was so good. Oh, I really
Yeah,
really dug. I was so sad that there was only 2 seasons.
yeah. Hopefully they greenlight another one. I'm not sure what the story is. Making more, but yeah, two seasons was enough. Those characters are so funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
a really good. I mean, you're taking something that seems so kind of walk in the park, just a bunch of kids hanging out, but the writing, I mean, the writing and the chemistry of the actresses and the actor, are such a great
No, I
TV show.
know. They all had such great chemistry, and I love the fact that it was this period piece too. Taking place during the
Yep.
Irish Revolution, which I
Yeah.
thought added this
Yeah.
really nice undercurrent. There's
Yeah.
this
And it's
there's
just a,
this little
and
bit of
it's
a
a,
tension, and it's just like
yeah.
wow, oh wow, and
Yeah.
it
Meanwhile, bombs are going off, but
yeah,
hey,
but
they're complaining with whatever their
it
issues are.
enhances the joke, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like it was such an intelligent decision to put it at that time period because it's like teenagers are still teenagers. It doesn't
Yep.
matter if bombs are going off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really really clever thing to do. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, yeah. So Dairy Girls was great. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, it's one of my top five of recent sitcom comedy TV series right now. It's so good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you finish Reservation Dogs too,
I
right?
did finish Reservation Dogs. I liked it a lot. It was definitely like Taika Waititi pre um, What We Do in the Shadows. So when he was still kind of doing a little bit more drama stuff,
Hmm.
there was a lot of comedy in it, but I would, it wasn't like a ha ha laugh out loud
No.
constantly.
Yeah, there's a lot of darker themes.
Yeah, but it reminded me a lot of Hunt for the Wildebeest, People.
Okay.
That that it had Sam Neill and that kid who later went on to be in Deadpool 2, um,
Mhm.
and I don't remember his name, but it was really. I mean, I love that movie, and it's straight up Taika Waititi, but it's not as silly as he's kind of become known for, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so I know that he helped develop it, but he didn't really he produced it, but he didn't really work on it. But
Yeah. He's not. Yeah.
you can see that his fingers are in it. Like he definitely helped guide the development of the show.
Yeah. It's either that or he just found somebody that has a kindred spirit that has the same sensibilities.
Yeah,
Maybe
no, it's
it was
definitely
meant to be a
true.
happy accident.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a really it's a great show too.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed that as well. So yeah, it was lots of good stuff, and it's a little late to get into it at this point. But I've been sucked back into the infinite abyss that is Animal Crossing. Um,
Yeah, that's for next week's
we can
discussion.
talk about that next week. I'm still sort of absorbing everything.
Yeah,
it was a lot. I mean, they added a lot of stuff.
just from what you're telling me, it makes me want to go out and buy the game.
You would hate it.
Because
I don't waste your money. Like I cannot imagine. I cannot possibly imagine you liking. And it's not an insult to you at all.
no, no, but
I know
you
a
just
lot of
know
people who don't like Animal Crossing, right?
because again, as I've beaten this now with a dead horse, very similar to have Dune beats you over the head with Zendaya shots
Yeah.
over and over again. But yes, I think the first thing I would do in that game is find a shovel and dig holes
Just
around all the characters on the island.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, you could literally like just you can once you unlock terraforming, you could just
Yeah,
trap them in moats and they would like never be able to leave. Like you would torture them. You could create
so
animal
mean.
zoos. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Um, yeah, I mean, like if you wanted to break it like that and torture them like that, then yes, absolutely, you'd have a blast. But um,
That's a one note thing, though. I mean, I did that in an iteration of it years ago, and then I
yeah,
said, "Yeah, I'm done."
yeah,
It's
right.
never played it
It's,
again.
I mean, fundamentally, it's not particularly different from. I mean,
Yeah.
there's more layers of complication
Mhm.
over top of what was in the original Animal Crossing, but if you distill the core mechanics, it's still basically the same core mechanics as the
Yeah.
original game. So, you still dig things up with a shovel. You still decorate your house. You
Mhm.
still owe millions of bells to a loan shark raccoon. None of that has changed, right? It's still
Okay.
that's core Animal Crossing. That has never changed.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll get into that next week for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Well, we're right at 30 minutes, so we didn't really even get a chance to talk. But I mean, I think what you're doing is you're just prepping for the next scene right
Yeah,
now.
I'm prepping a scene right now. Yeah, if you notice, it kind of went kind of slow tonight. I was fighting with. I switched over to my Windows machine, and and sadly, it's not. It's a couple years old, so I don't
Mm,
think it has enough. juice to keep up with the this heavy scene. It's more experiment that what I were doing here because I wanted
Yeah,
to try it on the Windows because of microphone issues. But the Mac I think keeps up with me drawing and stuff a lot.
a lot better.
So it was no lag. So I don't know.
Hmm.
There's something else to think about for next week. This week
Yeah,
as I go in.
we'll figure it out
Yeah,
off screen, so
off
our
screen.
audience
Yep.
doesn't have to deal with it.
Yes.
Yes.
But yes, we are setting up a scene. So
Okay.
I'll be doing that next week.
Well, delightful. We will then sign off. Thank you everybody for tuning it in or watching it after the fact. You can always find us at claimtojane.rocks. It'll take you to our Patreon site. Please sign up there and help us make this cartoon a reality. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube and all of the places. Just look for Calamity Jane Adventure Hour. Stay safe out there, everybody. Good night.
Night.
And